find yourself at the booth, order up a cold one. This is the Spring Bar.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Spring Bar. Glad to have you here. I am Florida Mike today with my co-hosts, Joe and the OC, the return of KC, and as you can see, we have a special guest. Unless you're listening, then you can't see. Then I'll just tell you, we have a special guest. Ethan from dmv.watches. Gentlemen, how are we all doing this evening?
Cheers.
Great, how are you guys
I'm
doing?
happy to be home.
It's good to have you back. I gotta say, we'll have to do a whole deconstruction of your exploits over the past couple months.
Certainly.
We're back to being a 3.
And well, honestly, we got potential watch-related content from that. I'll tell you the story between the Bund versus the Marine National G-Shock.
Yes. We had to live vicariously through sporadic direct message.
So we've got a lot to get through today. We've got stories, we got new watches, we got wrist checks, we got guests, it's a packed episode. So let's get into it. New watches. Who's going first? Joe.
All right. I got the Chronograph D back from the spa treatment.
Yeah. That's so good.
The pusher. So I had to do some research on it. For a couple of things about it that were really kind of strange. I forgot it had a date window. I've been wearing the watch and I forgot it had a date window. Date window's at 6. And so it's a question of if that means that the date window is done incredibly well or poorly.
I think I'm going to go incredibly well. It's there when you need it, but it's not when you don't want to look at it.
I think so. I totally forgot that was there. And then there was a question, and I was trying to figure this out. The dial is gray, but it's old.
Right.
Like me,
yeah,
I'm gray.
I know where you're going with this. No, it's a gray dial. It's supposed to be
right. It's a gray dial. I thought it might have been a faded black. I had to look it up.
No.
I had to look it up. And
Yeah.
so it's good. But
Great.
in the light, it's fantastic. It matches my dog. You know, things are good.
That's important.
That's what's most important.
It is. And then I just got this. This is completely and utterly unknown. This is a Miller branded gilt dial, Roman numeral, potentially like a blue marble dial, gold plated case, hacking, not hacking movement, a quick set movement, red date wheel, gold plated case with the vintage style expansion band on it that I had to take off because it hurt my wrist. KC, what do you got?
So a slight departure. As a reward to myself for securing this job that I've been working towards for quite some time, I ended up picking up a Meisterstück.
Nice.
This particular one is a discontinued model. Smaller size. It's the 144, and it is a fountain pen because I like that. But this cap is sterling silver, which it's not done anymore. I just like the way it looked.
Is that the only new thing you got?
For the time being, yes.
Okay, I got new stuff. So I sold 2 watches last weekend as of this recording. And people took notice and I started getting offers. Hey, do you want to buy my watches? Do you want to buy my watches? I have this for sale. Do you want to buy this? So I had a guy who I bought some stuff from previously say, I have 3 Jetstars. Do you want them? I'm selling them to you. Okay. Guess he left me with no choice. So they came in today. They're all projects. First one is the E. Hold on. There you go. This is going to be my new beater. The dial is all spidered and cracked, so it's not that good. It's got the fat handset. Cool. Doesn't have original crown, the original bracelet, but not the original clasp. But it runs in sets, so there's that.
Nice.
Then you know how spider dials make everything more valuable.
That's true. As long as you don't send it back for service and they replace it completely.
Oh, but shit! I wish they would. Then I have another D. This one, I believe, is magnetized because it's running very, very fast. It says it is currently 10 minutes to 9 when it's just after 7. Somebody polished the aluminum bezel on here, which is not supposed to be done, so that looks a little weird. Some staining on the dials on this one, but it has a real nice leather suede strap on here.
Yeah.
So we'll see. This will be a quick, easy turnaround. Demagnetize it, get it looking pretty good. I'll at least make my money back on that one. But the icing on the cake is the watch that lasted, what, 2.5 hours for sale last week. I got another
Stars and Stripes.
Stars and Stripes.
Yeah.
So this was actually a watch that was up for sale by somebody, and I tried to buy it, and he said, "Nope, sorry, somebody already bought it." And I bought it from the guy who bought it from me, or bought it out from under me, I should say. It's not bad. It's oh shit. You know what? This isn't even the right one. This is the other one that I have. But anyways, the one that I got, the dial and hands are good on it. The case, like they all do, need to be redone, which is fine. Doesn't have a signed crown, which is a bummer. I'm gonna try and find one. I think I will do a quick turnaround on this one, sell it unserviced, have a guy that's interested in it. We'll see if he wants to pay up. If not, it'll go for sale to the public again. We'll see how long this one lasts. We'll see if we can beat the 2.5 hour record.
We do have to mention that your the other Stars and Stripes did kind of go quickly well.
What did you say, Joe? I sold a Bulova to Bulova.
You did.
Bruh.
So
cheers.
Michael Benavente bought that one. He bought it quick. And then I sold my Oceanographer L, my 69 Oceanographer L. It just didn't give me the fizz anymore. I had it just to have it, threw it up. I think that one lasted an hour.
Yeah, it went quick too.
Yeah. So both.
I think I'm going to have you sell all my stuff from now on. All right, Ethan, you got anything new? We're throwing you the deep end here.
I've got a couple new pieces. The first one I've got is this here. It's one of the classic Seiko cocktail times, if I can get it to focus, which doesn't look like I can. But this one's a limited edition. Got this like nice pink salmon dial. Honestly, I've wanted one of these for a long time, but just never pulled the trigger.
Is that vintage or is that neo?
No, this one's new.
Okay.
Yeah, it's one of their newer pieces from the Presage
those are
line.
So good. Like the intricacy of the dial on those is so good.
Yeah,
I like those a lot.
I've always, we've had basically the normal collection in the store that I work at for a while, and I've always loved the blue dial. And I saw the pink one, picked it up. Although it probably will be a catch and release, to be honest, because then.
Well, that's how salmon works, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on. So, that was gold, man.
I've heard it twice already. So.
Oh, damn.
So another piece I got was, I don't know how well this will show up.
Better.
It's a Seiko Silver Wave. I believe these are from the early 60s, probably like 63 or something. It's basically like a pre-62 Moss diver from Seiko. So it's kind of before their whole expedition into dive watches. It was really just a waterproof watch. And so the reference on that is J12082. And it's kind of my first venture into the kind of, the diver style that Seiko has, because of course that's a whole another subgenre. There's so much history there. And I've always liked that one because I'm not a huge dive watch fan. It doesn't give off super dive watch vibes. And then one other piece that I got, which is honestly just one of my friends walked in to my store with it, and it's this here, a Casio wrist camera from the year 2000.
Yeah. Casey's familiar with this one.
It's got
there it is,
full box. There you go.
There it is.
There you go. Yeah. So
yeah, what all did you get in that kit?
Sorry.
What all did you get with it?
Right.
I didn't get the PC, like the IR reader or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's got all the paperwork basically, and it's got the watch is working. My buddy who sold it to me, he hadn't put a battery in it in forever. He just basically took the battery out and let it sit in his house for 23 years for me to find it.
That's
and for him to give it to me. And I put a battery in it, and there's pictures of him and his family from the year 2000.
That's awesome.
He didn't know that was on there.
That's
and
so
now,
cool.
Now I'm on a little mission to find one of the, because to upload the pictures to your computer, it has to use like an infrared reader, basically, which no modern computers. Perfect.
Talk to KC.
If you have one, I would love to borrow that.
I got one.
Okay.
The box and papers came like with everything, including a sealed disc.
Yep, with the software.
That still had all that junk on it.
What are you wearing?
Huh?
What are you wearing?
Me?
Yeah, you. We're moving on. This is the part of the show, Joe, where we move on. We change segments. We go from new watch alerts to wrist checks.
Lady G.
In case you didn't know. Oh,
Lady G. Because the bracelet on the Miller is too tight. So Lady G. And I need to get more bourbon. Next.
I feel like to get through the show with you tonight, I'm gonna need more bourbon.
It might be one of those nights.
Yeah. Casey, what do you got?
So I decided to go out of the office in style. I was rocking my gold Rolex Oyster Date. And
I love that watch, dude. I love that watch.
It's
admittedly, I would wear that one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. This is something about it's super gaudy, and I'm just like,
oh yeah. I mean, it's that idea is like the gold Rolex, without question, across the board, is that it's that little bit of the status symbol, but you're also not being ostentatious. It's not diamond set.
Right.
It's just
and I feel like because I went for the smooth bezel, I don't like the fluted or engine turned. I feel like
you're right.
Is like
you're
extra.
right.
Yeah, that's the way to go.
But nevertheless, wearing one of these is like, tell me you're a douchebag without telling me you're a douchebag.
Right. The only thing you're only saving grace is that you didn't go get into an Audi. Right. However, you did get into a different German car, so it's not the same.
Well, I mean, the Volkswagen is the people's wagon, so. But I'm drinking some random thing I found at Wegmans called Hank Dog West Coast Style Imperial Pale Ale, and it's a whopping 93% alcohol.
Well, now
9.3. I'm sorry.
93%. Good.
90,
good job.
Yep, 93%.
Wait, aren't you working in finance? Isn't numbers your thing?
Ethan, what kind of Rolex are you wearing today?
So I'm wearing a Rolex from a well-known company, a well-known subline of Rolex called Seiko.
I've heard about those. Those are really cool.
Yeah. So I guess in spirit of today, I wanted to wear the piece that kind of started at least the vintage Seiko kind of obsession with me. So this is a Lord Matic special from 1973. As you can see, it's got a faceted crystal, which just does so much with light. It's got a bright orange dial. It's just such a weird piece, but it kind of really put me on the path of my kind of taste, which is, just really bizarre 70s, which there's so much to offer from Seiko.
You're in the right space.
There's some guys right here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, Mike, what you got?
I'm wearing fresh out of service my Caravel. This is either an AE or a T. AEs came on leather straps. T came on a bracelet. Mine, I don't know which it is because it didn't come on whatever was original.
It didn't come with the original hardware.
It didn't come with the original hardware, but this is a special Spanish only. Is a full Spanish date wheel, Spanish mark dial. Very rare. The only one I've ever seen.
Es bueno.
It is.
Muy bueno.
Muy bueno.
So it's kind of got like a saucer UFO kind of vibe to it.
It does.
Very much. This is Caravel's answer to the dynamic. I don't know if I can get it. Yeah, no, it's shadows.
Okay.
That's cool. So there's your Omega dynamic.
There's a dynamic, yeah.
Actually, I suppose had I shown you guys because these did come back.
Yeah.
Right. I got the his and hers.
The his and hers.
Does hers know it yet?
She does not know that they're back.
What's our
Casey,
segue?
why is Ethan here with us today?
So Ethan is this random dude that I met working at a watch retail, like brick and mortar place. I won't say the name because it's not my place to do so. But it is. Is it a mom and pop? I'm not entirely confident.
We're a small business. Yeah.
Okay. So that's kind of what I like about this place. It's a small business, yet what they pack is some stellar hard-hitting brands like Hamilton, they carry Bulova, they have Seiko, geez, what else? Oh,
Pre-owned.
Casio,
Yeah.
like
A lot of
like
pre-owned, a lot of
the
Casio,
LE
G-Shock.
Casios. Like I
Yo,
feel
I
like
just
if
saw a
you got
picture
like a
of one of those new
mainstream.
Tissot side rails. Those things are so badass.
So yes, this is why. And so my interest was I wanted to go bring on, and I've got a couple friends that do sell Rolex and Cartier, AP, all this other high-end stuff. And no offense to them, but I didn't really want to get their story just yet. Maybe later on we'll invite them on if they don't hate me now. So I wanted to hear what like selling Seiko and Citizen and Bulova was like. So here's Ethan. So with that being said, Ethan, would you tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, like what got you into watches, and then we'll kind of move down the road from
Yeah,
there.
for sure. So I guess to begin, I mean, is it okay if I say the store name? Because I know they would
It's your
care.
store. Doesn't bother
Right.
Well,
us.
it's not my store,
Do
but
you-
yeah,
See?
the store.
I
So
I have no issues with it.
okay, cool. So
Listen,
basically
if you announce where you're going to work, all the listeners that are listening in that area are just going to flood there and want to take your
I'm
picture and stuff. So
Like three of them, not Casey's
Yeah.
wife though, but there's three
Yeah.
others.
yeah, exactly. All the local people. But yeah, so I guess just a background. I'm 22. I'm at George Mason for cybersecurity. I'm on like a 6-year schedule because
Hell
I'm
yeah,
working
brother.
full time. And honestly, it's just my attention cannot, deal with a full-time school load. And so a couple of years ago, I was working at a winery part-time because my mom worked there, and it was right when COVID hit, and I was just doing nothing. So I started working there with her, and after I've always had an appreciation for engineering, art. I'm into cars, which is a very parallel universe to watches. It was just kind of inevitable that I stumbled into watches. And one day a customer came in wearing just a standard bluesy Submariner. And I'm like, wow, that is a very attractive looking watch. And I'm like, you know what? I feel like everyone should have a nice, automatic watch. And yes, question.
Can we talk for a second about the fact that you left a winery to sell watches? Just
no, hold on a second. We're skipping over the point that you got the job because you hung out at the store so much that they're just
Yeah.
like, why don't you just come work here?
No.
I'll get there.
I
I'll
want
get
to
there,
I want to go back
We
to
are
the
completely
winery.
derailing this man's story. Let him tell it.
But the winery.
What about it?
Okay, yeah, Joe, I got it. Freaking California is wine country.
Screw
it to
wine
yourself,
country.
will
It's
ya?
the alcoholics in us that all want to know why you would leave the motherland.
I actually
Watches
don't
are
drink,
nice, but
so
you can't drink them.
I
He
don't
left
actually.
for sobriety
Funny
and
enough,
mechanical timepieces.
even I've worked at 2 wineries for probably a total of like almost 2 years. I've never drank before. Just not my
I'm out.
thing.
Well, honestly,
There you
more
go.
power to you.
Goodbye.
I wish I could say the same.
And then there were 3.
Hey, it gives me a lot more money to spend on watches. So
This is true.
Definitely.
This is
You
very
know,
true.
anyways, I was on the hunt for my first, just a nice watch. I didn't really think I would get too deep into it, but I'm like, I feel like everyone should have a nice watch. So I started looking, and I didn't know anything about watches, but I could, I got the vibe from people. So I went to a bunch of different stores. I just went on Google Maps, typed in watch store, and of course a bunch of like I went to like a Movado store, whatever. I'd heard the brand name, I didn't know anything about it. I go in there, and the people just don't care. So, obviously I'm like, okay, uh, if the people selling these watches aren't passionate, it probably doesn't mean the watches are fantastic either. So I had a hard time finding something. And then I was stumbling through Tyson's mall in Virginia one day, walked right into this little corner on the store. The store name is Murad and Co. And I talked to my now boss Zabby, and he was just so excited, just happy to be there, just happy to be talking about watches, happy that someone like me had just a very, very like early budding interest. And he explained to me what quartz watches were, what automatic watches were, what's good, what's not good, what to look for. And I probably spent probably 2.5 hours that day just talking to him. And I walked out of there with a Seiko 5, perfect kind of entry level watch.
Which one? Which 5?
It was the SRPD 55. It's the
That doesn't help me.
Yeah, it's the diver style with just the blue dial, blue bezel.
Nice. It's the pretty one. Okay.
Yeah. So that was my first, entry into it. And ever since then, it's kind of gone downhill. It started a little bit slower. I picked up a Presage, one of the Style 60s, which is one of their vintage inspired pieces. And then, I picked up some Casios, just some fun stuff. I was, not super heavy into it. I was, watching all the YouTube videos and going to different shops and, just learning. And then eventually, after, going there all the time, I made a little side joke. I'm like, hey, it'd be awesome to work at a place like this, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And they're like, yeah, why don't you? And it kind of went from there. And nice. Believe it or not, I've only been there a little over a year, but it feels like I've been there forever, because it's just, once you're working in the watch industry, you just see everything. So I have seen probably like most things you can think of, whether it be some like really weird vintage stuff to a rainbow Daytona. Anything walks through the door, and it's really interesting.
So does your store do service as well, or is it just retail?
Yes, we do service. We have a full-time watchmaker.
In-house?
In-house, yes. So we do, servicing and everything. Everything simple from, battery changes on, fashion watches to full services on Rolexes. They're basically it's two uncles and then their nephew, which is Zabby. So Zabby and one of the uncles own it. And then the other uncle works full time. He's not technically an owner, but he's integral to the whole thing. And then me. So really there's 4 of us that are working full time there. Me right now, of course I'm not at such a high level there, being only there for a year, but I've been, working on kind of just like a vision of moving them into more of a catering more towards watch enthusiasts. So for example, we recently just started carrying Young Hans. We are picking up Rado, and we just signed a deal with Norcane. So we're really kind of pushing forward to get some more niche stuff, some up and coming brands that just cater to watch enthusiasts. Mid to high tier, area, which is kind of where our store is focused. We've got the basics like Seiko, Bulova Citizen, G-Shock, and then we kind of right now we're kind of in that $1,000 to $2,000 price bracket where we're trying to move up a little bit more. So we've got Tissot, we've got Hamilton, we have Seiko Lux, which is the higher end stuff. That stuff really solidifies us in that kind of 500 to 1,500 price range. And then, we're starting to push a little bit higher with Young Hans, with Maurice Lacroix, with Rado, and then with Norcane. And then, other brands we would love to carry like Nomos, Oris, kind of that, mid getting into luxury. Yeah.
And to speak to your contribution to the team there, I've been to that store over several times over the last 3 years that I've lived in Northern Virginia. And I was like going there, but I also kind of was like, there's this vibe that they only deal with the selling of new watches, which is okay and all, but it's not that spark that makes me love watches. And I ran into you. I'm like, who the hell is this guy? And this guy's like, hey, check out these vintage Seikos I have. I'm trying to push the store into trading in the watch collector space. And I was like, you know what? Maybe this is worth stopping in more often now.
Yeah. So what I feel like I bring a little bit more is just kind of, since I don't have an ownership stake in the business, I kind of don't have that like 100%, profit mindset, which isn't what they have. Don't get that, twisted or anything.
That we've talked about a lot on this podcast, and we talk about it in person a lot too. The e-commerce is fantastic, and you can buy online all day long. It's easy, it's simple.
Yeah.
The return policies are really great, but it doesn't change the fact that if you can't handle the watch, if you can't put it on, you're going to have no idea, because the spec sheet isn't going to tell you a whole lot. The pictures aren't going to tell you a whole lot, right? Yeah, I need to know how it sits on my wrist.
Yep.
It might be too big. It might not be too big. It might not sit well within the way my wrist bones work. Blah 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 blah. And if you don't get that physical experience, which is what you have in the retail shop.
But what's cool too is you guys handle pre-owned stuff.
Yes.
You can go in there and not only are you handling new items, but you can, if you were wanting to get into vintage, but you're afraid to buy the vintage watch because it's such an unknown, you can go in there and get hands-on with a vintage piece or a pre-owned piece and take some of that fear out and put it on and be like, wow, this is really cool. This is not as bad and scary as I thought it was going to be,
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Yeah, those are great points. Yeah.
You have the watchmaker on site. So not only are you selling the piece, but you're a full service shop, really.
Yep.
Because so many people don't get into vintage because they're afraid of it. And you hear the stories of servicing and things like that. And if you're not used to it, you don't know what it means. And it's a scary thing. But for you to be able to say, hey, this is our watchmaker. He works in-house right here. If you haven't had any issues, just bring it back to us. You already trust us enough to come by. We can take care of it for you. That's
yeah.
To get people into the vintage side, I think that's pretty neat.
Yeah, those are great points. I mean, buying from a retail shop definitely gives a lot more peace of mind. You can try the watches on, know that, a pre-owned piece has been looked at by experts. And
the best part is you can throw that whole "I know where you live" thing in.
You have a place to go back to.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's really honestly what I think is the number one thing is that, especially now, because watches isn't it's not a necessity. It's so easy to buy watches online, but I think part of the experience is, talking to other watch people. And now with like Teddy Baldassar, like the Minuteman, they're great, they're great creators getting tons of people into watches. But I feel like those creators kind of fall into the trap of like, oh, best entry watches, Seiko Alpinist, Tissot PRX, Hamilton Khaki Field. It's like, there's just kind of some like a funnel almost of new watch enthusiasts, and then they just kind of get put on this track, and then then you go Speedmaster, then you go Tudor Black Bay.
It's become really regimented. It really
Yes.
has become regimented. And like I see that at some of the meetups that I go to with new watch consumers. Is like, oh well, I need to get this, I need to get this, I need to get this. And it's like I'm going towards this, and whatever it may be. It's like, eventually they're ending up with either a Daytona or a Royal Oak or FP Journe, and you can kind of see the pathway that they're on.
Absolutely.
Versus when you get into like the real enthusiast is like, oh, okay, I'm going for, and they go in a slightly different pathway, and you show up and all of a sudden you see something that's really interesting. It's like, what is that?
Going back to the retail side of things, when you are in a retail store, you're not really put into that funnel. Because we have just cool things scattered all over the place. Even me, I've fallen into it. There's stuff that I didn't really care for seeing it online, and then I see it in person and I love it. For example, Young Hans. We had Max Bills come in and out of our pre-owned all the time. They're good watches, but they never really struck any interest for me until we started carrying them. And then I got some of their pieces, some of their chronos. I got their world timer in hand, and I'm like, this is a fantastic watch. And then, if someone comes in, I show them Young Hans and they have that same reaction as me. I'm like, but wait, just try it on, just look at it. And it just blows people away. And so it really, we're kind of creating, we're creating interest in watches that people wouldn't look at before. As much as we sell so many PRXs and khaki fields and everything, I get a lot of joy out of someone coming in here, seeing what is on my wrist, and they're like, what in the world is that? And I'm like, it's a vintage Seiko. And I'm like, if you want to look at some other like normal vintage Seikos, I've got some over here. And then they ask about that, and then that leads into, so it's just a nice pipeline into just becoming a true enthusiast.
That's a pretty solid segue in and of itself. I feel like we nailed, who Ethan is as a collector. We talked significantly about your store at length, plans to sell Seiko, kind of why, a little bit of why Seiko. Maybe we'll double tap that a little later. But let's go ahead and talk about the DMV Watch Club, because I don't know anything about it, and I would love to come through because my wife doesn't give two squirts about freaking watches. So I gotta go sit online with two old men. And so like
yeah,
Okay.
so the club
one day,
really
you'll be one of us, Casey. One day.
yes.
So then, I kind of created, it started as an Instagram group chat with people that I knew in the area. And then eventually we very quickly outgrew that, made a Discord server, and we do monthly meetups. Our Discord server is incredibly active, and it's just, we're just bringing the local community together. There's other clubs, not gonna like name any names or anything, and they all have a reason to exist. I'm not bashing the clubs, but it's just not my cup of tea. They're really more just like high-end stuff only, and very almost like gatekeepy in a way. They're like, unless you have these watches, you can't really join. You can't be a part of that, which I'm not a fan of that really. Which is with my club, you could have no watch. If you're interested in watches, I will invite you to my club. I don't care. So it's just a very open, very casual, people just talk all the time in the Discord, and then our meetups, we get 20 to 30 people right now, and people bring everything. You'll see the high-end pieces, you'll see vintage, you'll see micro brands, you'll see everything. So it's just a great place for enthusiasts to get their fix without talking the ear off of their spouse or significant other. Because my club is more oriented just to people that are passionate, not really just kind of look at me, I have a $40,000 watch on or whatever. It's really
Rolex. Look at me.
Yeah, it's since it is just passion, people are just more open to it. It's just like, okay, it's just a thing at the end of the day. And considering how kind of even though my club's very open, a lot of people, know each other, just as, nature of the club, of the Discord server. People know each other. And there's enough people there that you trust that, you don't, nothing's going to happen to it. So I get, people that come in and they'll just throw some Rolexes on the table and walk away and talk to other people, at a lot of like the higher end meets and stuff like that. People are like, oh, don't take a photograph of the serial number and whatever. At my club, people just don't care. I still like to have like a very kind of loose like guideline, of like rules, basically just like ask before you pick up and try on a watch, ask before you actuate a chrono or wind the watch or whatever, and then ask before you take pictures. Just because, some people still don't want that, and that's perfectly
It's
fine.
common courtesy.
Yeah, just common courtesy, exactly. So it just kind of enforce those a little bit, and then
You know what? I shouldn't say common
yeah.
courtesy, because I guess to a new person to the watch world,
It's not common.
Especially
maybe
serial
they wouldn't
numbers.
think
Yeah.
because like I feel like most people would be like, oh, button, I must press button, and
It's inviting, yeah. What's funny though is like a lot of the high end, watches, people just like, yeah, do whatever you want. It's with the vintage people, because I've had people bring watches to the meetup and I'm like, hey, can I actuate this chrono? And they're like,
No,
I've never pushed that button before.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
yeah.
They're just like, I've never done that.
If you haven't been to the meetups, I highly encourage you to go. Just from the fact it's like, okay, I get the chance to see in the metal all of these different watches, all these different things. And also, I would encourage you, if you're going to go to one, bring some watches. Don't just show up. Don't just double wrist it. Bring some extra pieces, because it makes a huge difference, right? I have a six watch roll. I'll bring a variety of different things, and plus whatever I'm wearing. If my son comes with me, he'll double wrist. And the funniest thing. I was at a meetup yesterday, actually, and there's a guy who's got his Independence. There's another guy who brought all of the most recent Omegas, and my son stole the watch event wearing a quartz Gruen President Day Date homage that people were grabbing him by the wrist and dragging him over into the lights, like, tell me about your watch. It was the coolest thing, and I'm watching him work the room. Oh man, it was great. It was absolutely great.
To kind of go off of that, I would, again, if people are embarrassed of like, oh, I only have, some entry level pieces or whatever, bring them. You never know.
Always.
There's a meet that I went to. It's one of my close friends runs the meet, and it's like once a year, but it's like the highest end stuff. It's invite only. It is one of those, it was all basically independence and everything like that. Just for the hell of it, I brought some vintage Seikos with like, my crazy faceted crystals, crazy dial colors, just for fun. And I laid them out, and, I was, the whole time I was like drooling over an Akrivia AK06 and some Groenfelds and, all those watches.
Right.
And then this one guy comes up to me and he just like, are those your Seikos over there? And I'm like, yeah. And he was like, those are awesome. I've never seen anything like that. That was amazing. He was just so over the moon by them. I didn't know what he was wearing at the time, but later I saw him. He was double wristing an FP Journe vertical tourbillon and a solid gold Richard Mille. So
of course.
You never know.
Well,
Watch
it's one of those
just,
things too that like
yeah.
you break the room down.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, who's the enthusiast and who's chasing the value?
Exactly.
And you can see it. You can see it because like the people that are interested in the Bulivas and Acatrons that I bring, the people that are interested in my son's freaking Gruen blue dial quartz monstrosity. It looks horrible, but if those are the people, it's like, okay, I recognize what you're doing. I recognize what's going on. I can see all of these things.
Mm-hmm.
There's pluses to be had, and that's where you break down who's the genuine enthusiast versus who's the dilettante.
Yep.
And to me, when you're talking about these meetups, that's the important part. It's like, okay, let's bring the enthusiasts together. Let's bring the people that are really passionate about what we're doing.
Yeah.
Together.
And you know what? I think that my club, it kind of filters out most of those people just because of the nature of the club, where I say, when I explain the club, I literally say, look, people bring everything. It's not going to just be, there's going to be a couple high-end pieces, but mostly it's going to be, weird vintage. It's going to be, this and that, micro brands, whatever. And if people then still take that and decide to show up, then then they're an enthusiast. So
right,
yeah,
always
just a nice way of filtering that. Yeah, it's
one of those things, so as we're trying to kind of push it up through, you were talking about this idea that you wanted to move into doing the vintage space, and you wanted to branch that into your business.
Yes.
What is your plan for that? How are you planning to get into that? How are you planning to make that work?
To be honest, I have no idea.
Perfect.
I mean, my dream, like, this is just, going back to, what I love. I have like very, like, my watches are very niche, one thing, but then it's also varied. I love independence. Independence is probably, one of my favorite, they probably are some of my favorite watches in the world, but obviously I don't have the means to have them myself, or not even to really look at them that often. So my dream would be to own a shop kind of like Esper Lux or Cellini or whatever, where just have some really cool indie stuff, and then do pre-owned for just stuff that I like the vintage Seikos and weird vintage Rolex stuff like that. I
think you mentioned Cellini, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
Which is like a taboo.
Yeah,
it is. You're so right. Wow.
Honestly, banned. Some of those Cellinis, though, I'm like, okay, I can. That's pretty good.
I was talking about the store Cellini, which is which is a shop up in New York. They have other.
Oh, you were talking about Rolex Cellini?
No,
this is
not
a watch
Rolex
podcast, Ethan. Come on,
but
man.
Rolex Cellini
bamboozled me.
Is there's some weird Cellinis I love.
It's a completely, I think it's a completely undervalued line.
Absolutely.
It just doesn't meet what Rolex is supposed to be. And I like it for that. Yeah. I really do. I think the designs are elegant.
Makes me think of?
Yeah. Totally.
Oh, I love that dial. Love that dial.
Yeah, I think when I think Cellini, I think of what Cartier, not entirely Cartier, but some of what Cartier offers, such as that vintage tank.
Yeah.
It's just fun. It might be a little ostentatious, maybe a little gaudy, but that's kind of the charm of it.
Yeah. If you guys have ever seen hairspring.com,
yes.
That's basically the stuff I love. Just like the really weird, kind of deep cuts of the watch industry, like a oyster quartz Day-Date with a birchwood dial. That stuff I love.
How about an oyster quartz Tudor?
Yeah,
I don't even know that. That's the thing. I love learning.
Dude, you can get an integrated bracelet oyster quartz Tudor, which is like the rare of the rare.
They're awesome too. They're absolutely awesome. They look great. It ticks all of the boxes except that the name on the dial is slightly different.
Yeah,
I love them.
Also, obviously, being a Tudor Submariner guy, I'm all about it.
Yeah. Hopefully, it doesn't have a price like a Tudor Submariner.
It doesn't. It doesn't. Not yet.
Not yet.
Right.
Well, I know what I'm gonna do after this podcast.
Right there it is.
I'm gonna do some research.
There it is. So, what else is it you want to say about what it is that you're doing? Because you're a young guy. You're really passionate about what's going on. You're doing the Lord's work, basically, which is, and for the three of us, it's something that we can appreciate because it means now that there's another outlet.
Yeah,
there's another space and we can turn people on to what it is that you're doing and where you're at. What else is it you want to say about your whole process, about your whole business?
Honestly, not too much. I mean, I feel like I've gone in like a million different little, side topics, throughout the podcast, which is, kind of what it's for, which is great. But I don't know. I feel like I just I post a lot of my journey on my Instagram. My Instagram, my main posts are kind of more, they're not like professional shots or anything. I just post cool stuff that I find. But on my stories, I just post whatever I'm thinking. I'll meme on my story. I'll post very controversial topics. But if people are interested in, I guess, what I'm doing, that's the way to, find out. I'm probably, I mean, right now, I don't know what my plan is for the future. I think I'm going to stay. I'm definitely going to keep staying at Murad and Company for now, because it is really, building me connections. I am building connections with brands, with collectors, with so many different people. So for now, I think I'm not in a position to move forward with what I want to do, in the watch industry. As a career, of course, the watch club is something I'm actively working on, which I, still do love. We're working on collab watches, stuff like that, just growing the club in general. But I guess, industry wise, I'm not too sure. I'm just kind of going with the flow right now. Selling some personal watches on the side. Hopefully if I get good enough at, finding cool watches to buy and then sell, then maybe that can flow into something, build up a little bit of capital, whatever. I don't know. I'm just going with it right now.
You got time.
Yeah,
got time, man.
Yeah, and I'm just having a lot of fun with it as well. My goal is to not have to use my cybersecurity degree.
There it is. Well, we kind of we reached ourselves sort of a natural end.
Yeah.
So we have our last call, and are we ready for last call, gentlemen? Mike,
are you ready to move into last call, Joe? Because you weren't ready to move into wrist checks earlier.
Geez, so petty.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yes, I am. I'm down to the end of the glass.
All right, last call. So does that mean I'm going? You're asking?
If you got one,
Joe, it's finally happening.
It is.
You and I have been friends for what, 3-4 years now, somewhere around there.
It's been a minute.
We have never, and probably to the surprise of a lot of people that listen or people that follow us on Instagram, you and I have never actually been in the same room together before.
We've never been in the same time zone.
No, for that matter. But at the end of this month, you and I are going to have 5 days of mayhem.
Indeed. Mike gets the benefit of my couch.
And if your wife is listening in the background there, I apologize now.
Well, that's fair.
So I'm going out to California. I'm going to go hang out with Joe for a little while. The theme of the trip is bourbon and brisket.
That's about right. It's gonna be a good time. I got some events planned.
What kind of brisket are you gonna get out freaking in California?
The good kind.
Plant-based brisket.
I doubt that very much. Good.
Wow.
Have you never seen the stuff that Joe cooks?
Wow. You're not getting any. No shipment to you. That's all I'm saying. I cook a mean brisket. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Mike's gonna come out. I got a fun-filled week of adventure for him. We're gonna go hit up some of the major retail spots, go see some of the ADs, go to a couple watch events, drink a lot, eat a lot of barbecue. It's gonna be okay.
It's gonna be a good time.
I got you. It's gonna be all right.
So
looking forward to that. You know what?
So,
shoot. Hey, so give me 12 months of working this new job. I'll get 2 weeks leave. That's all I'm worth.
Come on out. I'll host you. I got you.
Hey, all right, no offense. I've already been to California. It's great and all. But you know what I want to do? I want to use that military discount at freaking Disney. Go out to freaking Florida. You should come to Florida too, and we'll all hang out.
There it is.
You know, wouldn't
There
you
it
know
is.
that I just happen to live near Disney?
Hey,
He knows a guy.
Yeah.
Hey, okay, we can make that happen.
In fact, I can see the Disney fireworks from my windows.
Well, so can I. That doesn't say much.
Different Disney.
I don't have a last call. So, Casey, you got anything?
you know what? I kind of do.
All right.
And it more so pertains to maybe understanding your physical limitations as it pertains to heat. And
It pertains
I
to
have
heating?
Heat.
to heat, like
The
actual
heat.
temperature.
Okay.
Yes.
It's like, okay, what,
So-
like, how many hot dogs can you scarf? Okay.
So
Heat.
No.
if this is going to be your last call, then don't come visit Florida in the summertime.
True.
Well, all right. Hey, so check it out, right? Hey, check it out, Trini. So like I have always shrugged off heat. Like all the training events I've gone to, I'm like, I'm not gonna be a heat cat. I'm not gonna be a heat cat. Yeah, so I was not a heat cat before anyone thinks I'm a heat casualty.
But you were in Louisiana.
So yeah, I was in Louisiana.
It's different there, dude. It's different.
For my military folks, y'all already know it's JRTC, and it's this like simulated war that America has been fighting for decades to be able to get soldiers ready for actual combat. Well, anywho, we had several heat cats, a lot of tough macho guys, right? So my again, and I'm one of those tough macho guys because I was like, hey, doc, I'm not going to drink water. It's fine. My urine is coming out like Coca-Cola, but it's fine. We had someone who no shit, heat catted so hard, their heart stopped, and we had to call in a helicopter to take them to the hospital. So if you're out there in the heat, slinging drywall, doing pavement, whatever, bro, I'm telling you, Coca-Cola is not the way to hydrate. Go ahead and drink some water.
Unless you're in Texas, which just made it illegal. Just throwing that out there. Sorry for our Texas viewers.
Illegal to drink water or Coca-Cola?
There are no longer mandated water breaks for Texas, which is in the middle of the heat dome.
Yikes. Oh God. Hey, all right.
Right?
Make sure you guys know where the nearest helicopter is. Dude, my troops' morale went through the ground. Like they were sitting, so like we're all on this training exercise, and we call it a Black Hawk marked with big old red like cross, and it comes in and it's sitting there for like 5 minutes, and we're all looking at each other like, oh shit, we actually could die here. And so like they couldn't take off until they got this person's heart going again. And they were just like, we're all sitting there going, oh boy. Yeah.
Jeez.
Well, I mean, you recognize though that like my measure of success is whether or not anybody died. And I teach high school.
So is mine, right? Except
okay, just so we understand each other.
Well, but then the other thing is like I'm also rated on how many people that are bad guys that got killed. So
well, all right. I don't actually have to kill anybody. There's a difference.
I mean, if I just don't come home with rabies, it's a win for me.
It's subtle. It's a subtle differentiation. I don't agree.
Dude. So not quite rabies, but I got bit, and you can kind of see the scar by something. I don't know what the freak it was, but it caused my wrist to swell up so much that I couldn't move my hand at all.
Something just jumped up and bit me.
Well,
Wow.
I'll tell you what, it bit me on the buttocks.
And it was your right hand too. Must have really affected you.
Brother, I'm telling you, I was so stressed I wasn't even worried about it.
Ethan, you got a last call.
It was so hot it was shriveled up anyway.
Anything going on?
Bro, it wasn't no shrivel up. It was
It's
just
up to
fucking
you.
getting away.
It's your call.
No, I don't think so. Just it's
Well
been a
done,
pleasure
sir.
being here.
Good
It's been a
answer.
pleasure being here. Yep.
Well, so to kind of give Ethan a last call, hey man, next time you have a DMV Watch Club meetup, I would love to attend.
I will let you know. It's coming up
Absolutely.
pretty close. It's
What does DMV stand for? What is it? What does it mean?
Oh, that's a good thing. That should have been It's not the Department of Motor Vehicles.
No.
It is DC, Maryland, Virginia. Just
okay.
yeah.
All right. A
I had to
regional
figure
thing.
that out on my own.
Yeah, I guess it's
my
not
bad,
so
Ethan. I
intuitive.
assumed people knew that as well. So yeah.
Apparently, I get people that have lived here their whole lives and don't know what DMV is. So
Well,
it's all right.
My
these
wife
two
is
are
from-
just upset that they don't live in like the right part of America.
My wife is from Maryland, so I get it. I get it. But
Mhm.
the DMV is where dreams go to die. Because that's the Department of Motor Vehicles in California, and it takes 8 hours. So like you prep your day, you hydrate, you bring snacks,
or don't.
make sure you leave you tie some string to your car so you can make it back because you don't know where you're going to end up. It's a whole thing. Just saying.
Like what is that? Dante, not Dante's Inferno, but the maze with the Minotaur in it.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yes.
Anywho.
Not Odysseus. Ulysses? Odysseus. I don't know. I'm not up on my Greek mythology. But anyway.
Ulysses S. Grant. All right, it's a different topic, okay? You're going to get us canceled again.
That's totally different, right? So, Mike, how do they get in touch with us?
So, this evening, Joe, Casey, Ethan, and myself, we all make up the Spring Bar Podcast. You can find us on Instagram at the Spring Bar Podcast. You can email us to springbarpodcast@gmail.com. On a personal level, I am 120 clicks, all spelled out, one long word, 120 clicks. Joe?
I am Watch Taylor Youth, all one word. Watch Taylor Youth, EUPH, at Instagram.com. KC.
Yeah, so I am time.hack1636. Ethan, what are you?
I am at dmv.watches, at dmv watch club on Instagram. And you can find me at Murad & Co. most days.
And honestly, you should plug your. I don't know what the hell is it. What vehicle is that you have your Instagram for?
That's my personal. Well, not really a personal. But that's
Is that a
Ethan,
Mitsubishi Eclipse?
No, it's a Mazda RX-7.
There's a big difference between an Eclipse and an RX-7.
Yeah, so that's my other page. It's Ethan Takes L's if anyone is into cars and just wants to see, one post every 6 months of my car.
Here's the real question. Is that LHD or RHD?
LHD.
Oh, okay. All right.
I mean, honestly, how does it run?
It's manual, it's rotary.
Does it
runs
spend
like a
a lot of
rotary.
time on the trailer?
Yeah, as a rotary does. But I love the rotary, so I'm not going to get rid of it like a lot of people do. So,
and don't forget, we are Citizen and Bulwa affiliates, even Caravel. So if you're looking to buy anything from citizen.com, bulwa.com, you head on over to the link in our bio. We have all the links for you there. Anything that you purchase online does help support the show, so we would appreciate it.